Before I start this story, I just want you to know that it's for educational purpose and I mean no disrespect to anyone that I talk about in this case, and I upload once or twice a week. Joseph Roy Metheny was born on March 2, 1955 in Baltimore, Maryland. Metheny said his mother neglected her 6 children while she worked double shifts outside the home. His father was an alcoholic who was killed in a car accident when Metheny was 6, and he suffered depression. Metheny said that his parents often sent him to live with other families in foster-like arrangements. Metheny falsely claimed that his mother was dead. His mother said that they were somewhat poor and she had to work hard as a waitress, barmaid, and food truck driver, but she had provided her children with a normal family life, and the children had never gone hungry or been put into homes of other families as Metheny had claimed. She said that Metheny was an above-average student, always polite, and not mean as a child. She said that he was smart and had a good childhood. If he was neglected, it was his own fault. It was a pretty good home. Metheny joined the United States Army in 1973. His mother said that he had served in Germany, although he claimed that he had served a tour in Vietnam and had become addicted to heroin while in an artillery unit there. His mother said that she had no recollection of him serving in Vietnam, and the circumstances of his service were reported as unverified in press reports. American involvement in Vietnam had ended by that time. Metheny seldom contacted his mother after he joined the army. She said, "He just kept drifting further and further away. I think the worst thing that ever happened to him was drugs." It's a sad, sad story. Metheny was ironically known as Tiny in the 1990s, as he was 6 feet 1 inch, 185 centimeters, large-framed, and overweight. He had been spending time in bars, living with bands of homeless men in makeshift camps in South Baltimore, and spending nearly all of his money on crack cocaine, heroin, and liquor. However, he held a steady job as a forklift driver and was universally described as intelligent, well-spoken, and very well-mannered. In 1994, Joe Metheny was living with his girlfriend and their 6-year-old son in South Baltimore. As a forklift driver, he was on the road for long stints at a time. One day, he came home to find his girlfriend gone, along with their child. Like Metheny, she had a drug addiction, and Joe believed she left with another man and took to living on the streets with him. He flew into a rage. He spent days looking for them, checking halfway houses, and even under a certain bridge where he knew his wife used to buy and do drugs. Under the bridge, he found not his wife, but 2 homeless men whom he believed knew her. When they gave no indication that they knew where his family was, he killed them both with an axe he'd brought along. Immediately afterward, Metheny allegedly noticed a fisherman nearby who could have seen what he'd done. Just in case he had, Metheny killed him, too. Some people deemed these first 3 killings crimes of passion, though he'd later develop a taste for murder. As soon as he realized what he'd done, Metheny panicked and tossed the bodies into the river to hide the evidence. He did get some closure on his son's whereabouts, saying, "I found out about 6 months later she had moved on the other side of town with some asshole that had her out selling her ass for drugs. They got busted for drugs, and they took my son away from them for child neglect and child abuse." Police arrested Metheny for the murders of the 2 men under the bridge, and he spent 1.5 years in the county jail awaiting trial. However, he was acquitted of any charges, as he dumped their bodies in the nearby river and investigators could not find them. Without physical evidence tying him to the crimes, Joe Metheny went free. He resumed his original quest of seeking out his missing wife and child, but this time, something was different. Though he had spent 1.5 years awaiting his trial, jail time had clearly done nothing to slow Joe Metheny down. Shortly after being released, Metheny murdered 2 sex workers when they failed to provide him with information on his missing girlfriend. This time, however, he had a better idea for disposing of their bodies. Instead of tossing them in the river, Metheny brought the bodies home. There, he dismembered them and stored the meatiest parts of them in Tupperware containers. What didn't fit in his freezer, he buried in a truck lot owned by the pallet company he worked for. It seemed that he was now murdering people for sport as much as for revenge. Over the next several weekends, he mixed the sex workers' flesh with beef and pork, forming it into neat little patties. He would sell these meat patties out of a small barbecue stand he opened on the side of the road. During this time, his customers would all consume bits of human flesh. They became unwitting hiding spots for the bodies of Metheny's victims. Whenever he needed more special meat, Metheny would simply venture out and find another sex worker or a vagabond. He later told police that he received no complaints on the meat tasting funny. In fact, no one seemed to notice that his burgers had a little something extra in them. The human body tastes very similar to pork, he said. If you mix it together, no one can tell the difference, so the next time you're riding down the road and you happen to see an open pit beef stand that you've never seen before, make sure you think about this story before you take a bite of that sandwich. Metheny killed Kimberly Lynn Spicer in mid-November 1996 by stabbing her with a knife. He kidnapped Rita Kemper on December 8, 1996, and attempted to rape her. According to prosecutors, he shared drugs with Kemper in the trailer where he was living at the pallet factory site. She refused to have sex with him and ran out of the trailer, so he chased her, beat her, dragged her back into the trailer, and then pulled down her pants and attempted to rape her. Kemper said he had attempted to murder her, saying, "I'm going to kill you and bury you in the woods with the other girls." She escaped through a window of the trailer and fled to police officers in the area. Metheny then asked a friend to help him bury the body of Spicer, which he had been hiding at the factory site since killing her a month earlier. The friend reported it to the police on December 15, 1996, and Metheny was arrested and charged with her murder the same day. The owner of the business was arrested with Metheny as they left a Christmas party and was charged as an accessory after the fact for allegedly disposing of evidence. Metheny began confessing to other murders, as well as that of Spicer. He led police to the shallow grave where he had reburied Magaziner's decapitated remains. Much of the skull was missing, but the police were able to identify Magaziner from dental records. Police said that he had chosen young white sex workers who were addicted to heroin and cocaine. The killings also involved brutal sexual assaults. He was indicted for killing Tony Lynn Ingrassia, age 28, but those charges were later dropped for lack of evidence. He claimed to have also killed 3 other prostitutes along Washington Boulevard in Baltimore, although there was no evidence of most of those crimes other than his confession. He said that he had thrown bodies in the Patapsco River and they had never been found. The Baltimore Sun reported in 1997 that it was not clear how truthful his claims were about how many people he had killed, although he said that he had killed up to 10 people. His attorney said that he was remorseful and that drugs and alcohol had changed his personality and made him violent. He was tried in 1997 in the Kemper case and given a sentence of 50 years for kidnapping and attempted sexual assault. He was acquitted of attempting to murder her. He was sentenced to death in 1998 for the murder of Spicer. At his sentencing hearing, he said that he committed murders because he enjoyed it, he got a rush out of it, got a high out of it, and had no real excuse why other than I like to do it. He also said that the words "I'm sorry" will never come out, for they would be a lie. "I am more than willing to give up my life for what I have done, to have God judge me and send me to hell for eternity. I just enjoyed it," he said at his trial. "The only thing I feel bad about in any of this is I didn't get to murder the 2 motherfuckers I was really after," he said. "And that's my ex-old lady and the bastard she got hooked up with." In August 1998, he pleaded guilty to murdering and robbing Magaziner, and prosecutors sought the death penalty in that case, as well. He received a sentence of life in prison in that case. His death sentence was overturned in 2000, and the sentence for the murder of Spicer was reduced to life without parole. The rationale for the death penalty was that the murder had been committed in committing a robbery, but the evidence indicated that robbery was not his motivation. In 2017, guards found Metheny unresponsive in his cell at the Western Correctional Institution in Cumberland at about 3 p.m. They pronounced him dead shortly afterward, thus ending his horrifying saga. I hope you all have a great day today, and this is all I have for this case. Thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed, please subscribe and comment and leave a thumbs up down below, and thanks for watching once again.